The story of JonBenét Ramsey is not just another true crime tale. It's a haunting puzzle that continues to baffle investigators, journalists, and the public nearly 3 decades later. It's a case that grips your soul, ignites emotions of anger and sadness, and leaves you with endless questions. If you're drawn to mysteries, unsolved crimes, and the darkest corners of human behavior, you're in the right place. But before we dive in, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss deep explorations into the most chilling and thought-provoking cases in history. And of course, I want to hear your thoughts, so make sure to comment below with your theories about this unforgettable mystery. The Christmas Tragedy. It was the morning after Christmas, December 26, 1996, in Boulder, Colorado. The Ramsey family, John, Patsy, Burke, and 6-year-old JonBenét, had just celebrated a holiday full of festivities. But the joy of Christmas night turned into a nightmare the next morning. Patsy Ramsey awoke early and discovered a 3-page ransom note lying on the staircase. The note claimed that JonBenét had been kidnapped and demanded $118,000 for her safe return. What makes this detail chilling is that the ransom amount was oddly specific, almost the exact amount John Ramsey had received as a bonus from his company. From the start, this wasn't a typical ransom case. Something was off. The discovery. Hours later, despite the ransom note demanding silence and secrecy, the police were called, and the home quickly became crowded with officers, friends, and family. Shockingly, the crime scene was contaminated from the very beginning. Proper protocols weren't followed. Key evidence was mishandled. People walked through the house, and items were moved around. Then, the most horrifying discovery was made. Later that same day, John Ramsey went into the basement and found his daughter's lifeless body. JonBenét was wrapped in a blanket with duct tape over her mouth and a cord around her neck. This wasn't a kidnapping gone wrong. It was murder. The autopsy. The autopsy revealed shocking details. JonBenét had suffered a skull fracture and signs of strangulation. There was also evidence suggesting possible sexual assault, though the findings were controversial and debated for years. The brutality of the crime against a 6-year-old beauty queen shocked the nation and left everyone asking the same question: who could do such a thing? Suspicions within the family. Immediately, suspicion turned toward the Ramseys themselves. The ransom note, for instance, was unusually long and written with a pen and paper from inside the Ramsey home. Many experts claimed it appeared staged. Investigators argued that the language used seemed theatrical and bizarre for a true kidnapper. Moreover, questions arose about the timeline. If JonBenét had really been kidnapped, why was her body later found in the basement of her own house? Why would a kidnapper leave her behind, but take the time to write a lengthy ransom letter inside the family home? Patsy Ramsey, JonBenét's mother, became one of the primary suspects. Her handwriting was compared with the ransom note, and while some similarities were noted, no conclusive match was ever proven. John Ramsey, too, was heavily investigated, as was their son Burke. But the Ramseys always maintained their innocence, insisting that an intruder had broken into their home and killed their daughter. The intruder theory. Not everyone believed the Ramseys were guilty. Supporters of the intruder theory pointed to potential evidence of a break-in. A broken window was discovered in the basement, and an unidentified boot print was found near JonBenét's body. DNA evidence taken from her clothing also did not conclusively match anyone in the Ramsey family. This theory suggests that someone slipped into the house on Christmas night, committed the murder, and staged the ransom note to throw off investigators. But if that's the case, who is this mysterious intruder, and why has no one ever been caught? Media frenzy and public opinion. The JonBenét case became one of the most publicized criminal investigations in American history. Media outlets covered every detail relentlessly, painting the Ramseys in a negative light. Public opinion often leaned toward blaming the parents, especially Patsy. The pageant photos of JonBenét, dressed up as a child beauty queen, added even more fuel to the fire. People questioned the Ramseys' parenting choices and speculated about their private lives. The line between factual reporting and sensationalism blurred, and soon the case wasn't just about finding justice for JonBenét. It was about scandal, ratings, and public fascination. The DNA twist. Years later, new DNA testing provided another twist. In 2008, prosecutors publicly declared that DNA found on JonBenét's clothing did not belong to any Ramsey family member. This seemed to clear the parents of suspicion, at least officially. However, critics argued that the DNA could have been from contamination or a manufacturing process, meaning it wasn't necessarily the killer's. Still, this revelation reignited the intruder theory and reminded the world that this case was far from solved. Burke Ramsey's role. Another point of controversy has been JonBenét's older brother, Burke. Just 9 years old at the time of the murder, he was questioned but never charged. Over the years, speculation about his possible involvement grew, fueled by theories that an accident between the siblings may have escalated into tragedy and was covered up by the parents. In 2016, Burke broke his silence in an interview with Dr. Phil, where he maintained his innocence and claimed he had nothing to do with his sister's death. But the interview only stirred more debate, as his demeanor and behavior were scrutinized heavily by viewers. Why the case remains unsolved. So why has this case remained unsolved after so many years? The truth lies in a combination of mishandled evidence, media pressure, conflicting theories, and legal complexities. From day one, the investigation was flawed. The contaminated crime scene, the leaked details to the press, and the relentless speculation all made it nearly impossible to build a solid case against any one suspect. To this day, no one has been arrested, and no one has been convicted. JonBenét Ramsey's murder remains officially unsolved, making it one of the most infamous cold cases in American history. The legacy of the case. JonBenét Ramsey's tragic story is more than just a true crime mystery. It's a reflection of how society, media, and justice systems interact in high-profile cases. It raises critical questions about law enforcement, evidence handling, and the influence of public opinion. But above all, it reminds us that at the heart of this case was a 6-year-old girl whose life was brutally taken away. Her memory still lingers, and the pursuit of truth continues. Theories will keep circulating, documentaries will keep airing, and debates will never stop until one question is answered. Who killed JonBenét Ramsey? The JonBenét Ramsey case is a chilling reminder of how fragile justice can be when clouded by mistakes, media sensationalism, and overwhelming public pressure. Nearly 3 decades later, it remains one of the most haunting mysteries in true crime history. A young child, a ransom note, a basement discovery, and a series of unanswered questions that continue to divide investigators, experts, and the public to this day. It is a story that still keeps people awake at night, retracing every step, revisiting every piece of evidence, and questioning every detail. Was it a carefully staged crime, a tragic accident, or a sinister act by an intruder who slipped away undetected? The more you dig into the case, the more unsettling it becomes. Every theory opens new doors, but none seem to close them completely. What makes this case even more heartbreaking is not just the loss of a child, but the sense of unfinished justice that lingers. Families, investigators, and even armchair detectives around the world are left wondering, will the truth ever come out? Or will JonBenét's story forever remain an unsolved puzzle? So, what do you think really happened that night? Was it someone inside the Ramsey home? Or a mysterious outsider who vanished into the darkness? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. And if you found this deep dive into one of the most haunting true crime mysteries compelling, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell so you never miss any of our future investigations. Because some stories demand to be told, and JonBenét Ramsey's story is one we cannot and should not ever forget.